Namaskar. There is a popular belief that the history of Rourkela would have been quite different if he would not have taken over the reins of Rourkela steel plant during one of its toughest and darkest phases. He personifies the definition of a visionary leader, and his contributions to Rourkela and Rourkela steel plant are legendary. Yes, I am talking about the iconic Dr. Sanak Mishra, who with his path-breaking strategies had triggered RSTV's transformation, and the rest is history. It's indeed a matter of great pride and privilege to have Dr. Sanak Mishra in our Rourkela Steel Television Center today. Sir, namaskar.
Thank you.
Welcome to Rourkela Steel Television Center, the TV center that had got a new lease of life during your tenure as the managing director of Rourkela Steel Plant. So, how does it feel to return to Rourkela?
Well, actually, I'm really delighted, and to be honest with you, I'm full of excitement being back in Rourkela and breathing that air of Rourkela, looking at all the trees and the flowers and the streets, apart from being in the plant. Yeah, right. Great, it's a great feeling. Yeah. I think I would like to tell you also that so much change has taken place for the better in the city and in the plant. So it gives me a sense of joy that, when I left here, I think it was in a good shape, but now it's even a better shape. So that gives me a great feeling that, things are in the right direction, in the right shape, and have the right future.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, we know that you were a brilliant student. You had topped the matriculation examination of the state of Odisha, and thereafter you had an illustrious phase as a student and as a researcher. So, we would like to know about the details about the making of the Dr. Sanak Mishra. How was your childhood, your family, and friends?
Interesting. Well, actually, I come from a very large family. We were 11 brothers and 4 sisters. And amongst the 11 brothers or 11 sons of my father, I was right in the middle. I had 5 elder brothers and 5 younger brothers. So I grew up in an environment where there were people all around me all the time, except including my father and mother. So it was a great feeling to grow up with so many brothers and sisters. I went to good schools. I was fortunate that I was in good schools. My last school was Queen of the Missions High School in Berhampur, and where I appeared in the matriculation examination. And I think to a large extent, the level of my performance in the school came somewhat naturally to me. It just happened like that, I think. I went to Ravenshaw College after Queen of the Missions High School. I did my BSc. I went to Collicote College first, sorry, I must say that. For 2 years I did my intermediate there, and then I went to Ravenshaw College to BSc Honours degree in physics. And then from there I went to Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore to do a course in metallurgy. And then when I was in Indian Institute of Science, there was a new field which was coming up in the United States called material science and engineering, and which required knowledge of chemistry, physics, mathematics, and partly metal sciences. Metal sciences are part of metallurgy, right? So I was quite excited to go into that field, and I was very fortunate that because of my academic career, I received admission and full scholarship in some of the top universities in the USA. And I did my master's and PhD at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, which is one of the top engineering schools in the US, perhaps in the globe as a whole. And my work also was very exciting because I moved back into a bit of physics. I worked on low temperature physics and looked at the phenomena of magnetism at very low temperatures, below 4.2 degrees Kelvin, which is liquid helium temperature. The temperature scale, 0 degree K is the minimum. So I went down to 1.3 degrees Kelvin, which was, I think we were the only one of 2 labs in the whole world which attained that kind of low temperatures. And at those temperatures I studied magnetic phenomena. So my work was very fundamental, and all my papers were published in the top scientific journals of the time, physics journals of the time.
So then you decided to leave the land of opportunity of USA and return to India. Such a flourishing career as a scientist, as an academician. Why did you decide this?
Okay, it's a good question. See, what happened when I was at the University of Illinois, my future wife, Veena, she was a student there. We met there. I had just finished my PhD, and I was a research associate, full-time research associate, which is like an assistant professor and non-teaching assistant professor, basically, a research assistant professor. And at that time, in India was undergoing a tremendous change post the Bangladesh war, where India was victorious. So even for us, who were in the US, Indians, at that time there were very few Indians in the US, by the way. So we were highly charged by this the success of the India in the war. And Mr. Mohan Kumar Mangalam, who was very close to Mrs. Gandhi at that time, who was the Minister of Steel and Coal and Mines and Industry, he had come on a visit to the US, and he had got my name from somewhere. You know, I must tell you, I got my PhD in '73 in engineering, metallurgical engineering. There were very few Indians at that time who got a PhD in engineering.
Okay.
There are many more in sciences or the liberal arts, but engineering PhDs were very few.
Very few.
So he had got my reference from Kanpur IIT,
Okay.
which had offered me an assistant professor position. And he phoned me actually. He wanted me to come and meet him in New York, but I could not go. So he actually talked to me on phone and said that I'm trying to create a corporate R&D center for iron and steel research as a part of Hindustan Steel Limited. You know what we call SAIL today?
It was Hindustan
the
Steel Limited.
forerunner of that was the Hindustan Steel Limited. So, and I told him I have to give, I mean, I was quite flattered by a minister calling me and talking to me on the phone, and I was quite flattered, to be honest. So, but I said that I need to think about it because I have this appointment, and my wife also was working with New York University at that time. So I said I have to consider these issues and I'll come back to you. And then the fact is that after a few weeks of this interaction, I heard in the American TV that Mr. Mohan Kumar Mangalam had passed away in an air crash.
Okay.
And so for me the matter was over.
Yes.
But surprisingly, after 6 months, I received an appointment letter from Hindustan Steel Limited saying that you are being offered position of a senior research metallurgist in the coming up research and development organization of Hindustan Steel Limited. At that time, I had also an offer from Kanpur IIT. So I wrote to my father saying that, what do you think, what do you advise? My father wrote back to me saying that it's your call. You decide what you want to do. But he said if you go to Kanpur IIT, it's already a wheel which is revolving. So you will be a cog in the wheel.
Okay.
But if you go to this so-called new organization as a founder member, then you have an opportunity to build an organization.
Right.
Somehow that impressed me quite a bit, this kind of a logic. So I chose to go to
build an organization
to Ranchi as a founder member of the Research and Development Organization. And there was nothing at that time. There was not even a table and chair. So I had to go and sit in the newspaper room for almost 4 or 5 weeks. And then we started. Then some other people joined as a founder member along with me. So we worked hard and we set up what is now being called RDCIS. In fact, that name has been given by me,
okay.
The Research and Development Center for Iron and Steel, and it came to be known as RDCIS of SAIL at Ranchi. So I had I would say, a very satisfying role in being part of that foundation team which set up this organization. And I think in about 10 years' time, it became one of the well-known research organizations in this country. So I had a lot of satisfaction with that. Yeah.
So I think after RDCIS, you had a stint at the corporate office also.
Yeah, actually that happened. It was quite an interesting, I mean the manner in which it happened was quite interesting. See, Mr. Krishnamurthy came as chairman SAIL in May 1985, And in 1986, before the financial year ended, in February and March, he conducted a series of workshops. And in between, he had come to Ranchi for a board meeting, and he announced that he would conduct a series of workshops called Priorities for Action. And he said, I'll hold it in Ranchi, which is a central place at the R&D Center. So at that time, my wife also was working in R&D Center as the head of the Information Documentation Center. So we became part of the organizing committee, whatever like. There was no organizing committee as such on paper by name, but he said it will be held in Ranchi, so we were very active. And Mr. Krishnamurthy came to know me, quite closely at that time because I was helping him to organize these workshops. Then he said to me that you need to come to corporate because you need to, for my own growth in the corporation. I mean, he wrote it down apparently in my confidential record, CCR.
Okay.
He called for my file to Delhi and wrote it. That's what I've been told. But then he retired, and then Mr. S.R. Jain came as a chairman of SAIL. So S.R. Jain asked me to come to corporate office, saying that, it's so at that time I was not so keen, to be honest. I said, what do I do in corporate office, handling a desk there. So that I didn't go. I mean, I did not show much interest. When Mr. Arvind Pandey became chairman SAIL in 1st January 1997, and he had come to Ranchi, and he said, this is there in your CCR. So he pressed me hard to come to corporate office, which I did. I asked him, what do I do in corporate office? I mean, you have to define for me some space because, so he said, okay, you will head corporate planning division. Mr. Pandey had come to SAIL from the IAS as director of corporate planning. So he says that you come and head that. So I went to Delhi corporate office as a executive director corporate planning. I was already executive director at RDCS since 1986. So 1998 I went to corporate office. But this was a very I think this was very good for me because it expanded my own horizon. Because at head of corporate planning,
you got the holistic
it gave me a idea of the whole company's operations, all the steel plants, all the marketing units, all the mining units and all that. So I think it was a game changer for me. When I look back, I think Mr. Pandey forcing me to come to Delhi was a game changer, yeah. He virtually forced me to come to Delhi.
As they say, the universe conspires.
I think that's a good way to put it, yeah, right. So here was an unwilling man, was drafted to go there, and and I think it was very significant for me in my career that going to Delhi.
So talking about the unwillingness of you to go to Delhi, then when you were posted as the head of Rourkela steel plant.
That's another story. See, what happened is that when I was in Delhi, SAIL was going through a very lean phase. In fact, I think 97, 98 it made a profit, a very small amount, 100, maybe 50 crores or something. But Mr. Pandey had that foresight that the profitability of SAIL will decline. And he asked me to prepare a document, and which I did with my team, called Path to Turnaround and Transformation. And I added the word transformation, and Mr. Pandey was quite happy about it. He said, okay, yeah, we need to not only turn around, but we need to transform ourselves as a company, as a people.
As a company.
And then McKinsey was hired to rewrite virtually the same document, so it will be more acceptable to the government of India. When that was being prepared, I had even a greater degree of understanding of the steel plants, situation in steel plants. So SAIL had started making losses. And Rourkela was one of them, which made huge losses.
Huge losses.
In the meantime, what happened is that there was a big modernization project was undertaken in Durgapur and Rourkela.
Rourkela, yes.
And it was delayed. So the overhead cost, the cost escalation on account of the time delay in implementation was quite huge actually. So ultimately, the expenditure on Rourkela modernization only 2/3 of it, roughly I'm saying, was actually creating physical assets. The remaining 1/3 was on account of cost escalation. So McKinsey found that Rourkela was the weakest link in SAIL's future. So they had recommended that it should be divested from the company. And of course, Rourkela had a lot of other problems like the union activities and all that. So in 2001, in the month of May, Mr. Pandey said that it's been decided that I should go to Rourkela. And to be honest with you, I said, why me? I mean, it's in such bad shape that I would not be of any help. I told him that. But the minister was Brajakishore Tripathi. I had to go and tell Mr. Tripathi that I'm not so keen to go to Rourkela. And the other thing I told him is that don't put me in Rourkela because you think I come from Orissa, because I think that will not give a good image. He said, no, that's not the issue. The issue is that we need to save Rourkela steel plant from being divested. So he in a way, he persuaded me, or you can say he sort of goaded me into accepting, but I was hesitant about what I would be able to accomplish in Rourkela. So I did express, very strong reservations about coming to Rourkela. But finally I came. So then when I came, I told the minister that then I have to have a free hand. And I told the chairman, and they agreed, and that yes, I will have a free hand to implement or to do things that will help the plant to survive. And so I also requested for a meeting with Mr. Naveen Patnaik, where Chairman SAIL was there, the Steel Minister also was there, and the high-level government functionaries of Odisha government were there. So I told Mr. Naveen Patnaik that your father built the plant, but the plant is not likely to survive without the support of the state government. And he accepted that logic that the plant needed to survive. Not just, see, when I was appointed, Mr. Tripathi told me the plant has to be revived. But when I actually came here and spent a month or two, I realized it was not a matter of revival, it was a matter of survival.
Exactly.
And so I told Mr. Naveen Patnaik, and Mr. Naveen Patnaik was very kind, and he said, yes, the state will give you any support that you require any time. I said, it's not that I'll require a daily support, but on certain matters I'll require some support. So in that meeting, the Chief Secretary was present, the Director General of Police were present. So Mr. Patnaik told them that you support Dr. Mishra, because what he's saying is, and he said it's not in Odisha's interest that Rourkela steel plant, as an untimely, demise. So that's the circumstances in which I came to Rourkela.
After coming to Rourkela, after seeing the situation, you started a very historic journey, the epoch-making HR initiative of mass contact exercise. That was built on the fundamental premise of regenerating strength with people.
Right.
Why this idea came to you?
Well, actually, people in general, in corporate sector particularly, and at the highest level of management, for them, the question that comes to their mind is profits, right? Now, there are many different ways you make a profit. There's not a single way that one makes profit, right?
It can be both tangible and intangible.
Right. So what happens is that the plant has to run efficiently, which is dependent on technology, but also dependent on work culture. But the work culture is a very complex, it's not as simple as one thinks, it's very complex. Technology far more simpler. The use of technology, because you can procure it, you can commission it, you can start using it.
And you know that what will be the result.
Yes. You know in advance what impact it will have.
Yes.
Quite right, yeah. But work culture is a very complex thing, because it's a very dynamic, it can change from time to time. A blast furnace is going to change only negatively, in the sense as it gets older, you know that you need to repair and you need to maintain it. Work culture can change from time to time, and I think this I understood very early in my life, that because I grew up in a large family, and so I knew that there is something more than a TV or a radio in the house. We didn't have TV those days.
Yes.
We had a radio, we had an electric iron, we had a sewing machine and all that. But I learned one thing, that these are there in the family, but the people who are there in the family are far more important than any of these. So I had this kind of an appreciation from very early on, because I grew up in a very large family. Our large family was like a factory, like 15 children, father, mother, and some some helping hands. So it was about 25 people at some point of time. Some relatives also came who were supported by my fathers for their education and all that. So we were 25 people at any point of time in a house. So I had understood very early that the people are more important than anything else in life. So I think when I came to Rourkela, you see, I went around the shop floors to understand what the people had in mind. And then I found that they were very demoralized. And they didn't see any hope in Rourkela. They felt abandoned also in a one way by the so-called quote-unquote, what they call the management. Yes. They felt abandoned, saying that we don't have much support from the management. Management also has given up on the plant, etc., etc. Then I realized that this has to be addressed, that what is in the mind of the workmen. And you see, we had 26,000 employees at that time, roughly. And out of that, about 2,200 were executives, quote-unquote, and the rest were so-called, quote-unquote, non-executives, which means primarily workmen. And I was chatting with workmen primarily, and so I got the sense that on one hand, they feel abandoned by the management. On the other hand, they feel highly demoralized because the plant is not doing well. And
the insecurity of working in a plant that is making
feeling very
losses.
insecure. So I said, how does one address this? And also there was a lot of distinction between groups of people, you know, like saying, you know, the steel making shop doesn't give me enough steel, so how much hot roll product can I produce? They're not making enough steel. So groups of people had these grievances, apart from personal grievances. So I realized that this has to be addressed as much as the technological aspect.
Bridging the gap.
And there was a big gap in the technological sphere also, because in the modernization, part of that modernization, like OBBP, Centum Plant 2 and SMS2, the commissioning was there only by name. Really, the systems were not in the not fully commissioned. So that was one of my tasks.
The capacity utilization was not.
No, not only capacity utilization. That was another point. But before capacity utilization, you see an equipment has to be fully commissioned. Okay. Then only you can say that I go forward in capacity utilization, which may take 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is. But the fact is, everything has to be ready. You know, the auxiliaries have to be ready, the water supply has to be ready, yes. The oil supply has to be ready, everything. So this was not there, particularly in these 3 units, OBBP, Center Plant 2, and then SMS2. So I had a challenge to rev up, if I use the word, in the plant, and I had a challenge to address the people. And I found also a total lack of leadership at any level, when nobody was leading anybody. People were influencing. See, leading is different from influencing people. That influence can be negative also, right? So this was also going on. So total lack of leadership, at any level, in fact. So that also bothered me. I said that people need to have leaders so that they will listen to them, right? So that was also one of my challenges, to build leadership at all levels of
and that is why you had constituted a lot of committees,
yes.
comprising young people, young managers.
Yeah. Young managers is one of them. Let me come back to it. So the origin of the mass contact was that to address large number of people at same time and try to hear from them primarily. What do they want? What are their aspirations? Where do they want the plant to go? Because I used to tell them the plant will shut down. The first thing I said to people is, this is your plant. They said, no, ye management ka plan hai. You know, the people told me. I said, no, that's a wrong concept. This is your plant. Your future depends on the plant's future. Yes. And the plant's future depends on you. It doesn't depend on external environment. So I think it took time for that idea to take shape in the mind of people. The mass contact exercise, you know, I was just explaining yesterday to your senior executives how this idea originated. The fact is, I found there are 26,000 employees. So I told myself, if I meet 500 workmen every week, then I will cover this in 1 year. 52 weeks into 500 is 1 year. So this idea came to my mind. So I asked Mr. Jagannathan, who was the ADP at that time, that I want to do this. Mr. Jagannathan said, I said, we will do it in Gopanthu Auditorium. So, and I found the Gopanthu Auditorium was in sad state actually. with birds flying inside and pigeons and all. It took 6 months to get that renovated. But in the meanwhile, we started other workshops called performance excellence workshops, performance improvement workshops and all that, where I used to invite large groups of people to the and talk to them and all. So it kind of a movement, it became a movement, so to say, talking to people, finding the feedback and making them commit to do something.
I remember you telling people that you just, the departments, you just sit together and have a cup of tea.
Correct. I used to tell them. Because that togetherness
Yes.
will bring ideas. Togetherness will bring, ideas and all that. So I think it grew like a movement, and I use the word sanskar.
Yes, sir.
To mean that there's a reform movement.
Yes.
The sanskar was like a reform movement in Rourkela steel plant. And in the beginning, people were confused what was going on, to be honest with you. Many people didn't understand what is this managing director is doing, getting people together and all that. And there were objections from the union also. But people understood that this was an opportunity to directly interact with the managing director. So eventually, they said, no, we want to sit with the managing director. He's talking to us and we are talking to him. In fact, there was such an emotional issue for them. See, I conducted some of them in the C shift, which is, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, sir.
And I used to ask people, that you can't leave the auditorium without saying something. So which just to spur them. So this gentleman, this workman got up and I said, why don't you say something? You have not said anything so far. So he got up and he was emotionally charged. And he started crying. So I asked his neighbor to give him a handkerchief and he wiped it. And I said, why are you crying? What's wrong? Are you ill? You are not well or something? And he continued to sob for a while, then he calmed down. And he said that I have been working in the steel plant for 36 years. I've never seen an MD forget about standing in front of him and talking to him. Then he said, this is the third most important event in my life, tonight. I said, why is that? Why third? And he said, the first was when I got married. The second was when my child was born. And the third is, standing.
Getting an opportunity to talk
to see the managing director.
Yes.
And to be able to talk to him. So it produced a lot of, you can say, it produced an emotional content where the workers began to feel for the plant, to feel that they are part of the plant and that the plant is their, sustenance, answer to their sustenance of food, hospital, schools for their children. So I think they began to understand. I think it took about a year. This doesn't happen overnight. It took about a year, but it started building up. And I think in 2 years' time, I think the entire plant collective, I would say they were on the same platform.
Yes.
So this is, in the beginning I called it RSP.
Yes.
Regenerating Strength with People. It stands for that. So it did happen.
And there were a lot of apprehensions when
in the beginning,
started.
Yes. Great. Confusion also.
Yes, confusion.
What is he doing? He's sitting with 80, 90 people, and I'll tell you an interesting story. You are an HR person. So we had a DGM HR, and when the first time I had a performance improvement workshop, it was with the power plant, which were producing 9 megawatts of power against a 60 megawatt capacity. CPP1. And he told me, sir, you can't call them to the HRD center. I said, what do you mean? He said, for the workmen, there is a training institute.
Yes.
For the executives, there is the HRD center. So how can you invite the workmen to the HRD center? I said, please forget this once for all. They're all employees of Rourkela Steel Plant. And HRD center is for every single employee of Rourkela Steel Plant, starting from the lowest level workman to the highest level managing director, whatever you call it. So it took some time for him to grasp that philosophical thought that everybody is equal here. Everybody is an employee. That they have a different job description is different.
Yes.
Fact of life. But as an employee, every facility of the steel plant is available to them. So I made it very clear. And I think the workers appreciated that.
Yes, sir.
They started being treated as an employee.
That was the beginning of the transformation.
So for me also, it was a unique experience, personal experience for me, because I also did not know how far can it go. But I think in about 1.5 years' time, I was very happy to see that the whole workforce in the plant
The
basically
recognition, the
single
opportunities
platform.
that you had given to them.
So that's what I call
They-
reducing the distance between minds
between
and bringing
minds
them on
and creating
platform.
a cohesion amongst
A
people.
lot of people ask me, what is this reducing distance between minds? And then we made a mission statement and a vision statement,
Yes,
if you
sir.
recall. That vision statement says every employee should be able to work with full freedom
Yes,
and dignity and without fear.
Without fear.
That dignity word was very important there, that they were treated with dignity, right? Yeah, and with full freedom and with, without fear. So a lot of people ask me, what is this without fear? I said, everybody has a fear. I have a fear of failure. That's why I told the minister I don't want to go to the steel plant. So, but we should not have that sense of fear. When we have a mission or we have a vision, we work towards that vision or mission. We shouldn't have a sense of fear. And I said the people, my workmen, my employees should not have any fear anymore that the plant is not going to survive.
Yes,
and that,
their own future, the
yeah,
plant's
their future is secure, yeah, right.
So, while transforming the entire environment inside the steel plant, you also gave equal importance to the township.
Yes.
The culture, sports, and I remember the first synthetic turf of
AstroTurf,
Biju Patnaik Hockey Stadium.
Yeah.
It was laid during your time. You started this cultural calendar, that cultural renaissance that you have brought, and all these monuments, beautification of township. So, while the plant was just coming out of a very bad financial state, why did you think that these things are also equally important? Also, you started the CSR department in a more organized way, had a department, a building, an assured fund and all.
Right.
So, why did you think all these things are equally important for a plant?
You see, the point was that we look at performance, right? I'll tell you an example which we are familiar with. So we say we have a son or a daughter, whatever it is, or take yourself. When we were in school, your parents, or father, mother, they would say, my child should perform well in school, score high marks, should stand first in class, whatever it is. And what do they do actually? They not only provide books and pens or notebooks to the child, they provide an environment where the child is motivated to perform. That environment is not simply books, pencil, rubber,
physical things.
No. There is an environment where they are nurtured by the father, mother, elder brother, elder sister, maybe a grandfather, a granddaughter. So this is very easy to understand that example, right? So I felt that if the people have to perform in the plant, then an environment has to be built which is not only plant based, because the life was there in the plant for 8 hours or whatever it is, and 1 hour going and 1 hour coming, 10 hours, rest 14 hours. I said it's in either in the house or in the township, in a shop or on a road or on a some cultural program. So I said that needs to be also facilitated so that their performance in the plant would be enhanced. So that was my idea. There was a lot of criticism at that time that Dr. Mishra is repairing the ring road when Rourkela steel plant is making losses. So I used to tell them that there is a relationship, because my employees are coming and workmen primarily came on two-wheelers. Some came on bicycles. And I said the whole ring road is full of potholes. There will be accidents. There were a couple of accidents actually. So I said I want to make it safe for them to come to the plant. So I need to repair the road. Similarly, I need to ensure that they get electricity, they get water, they get
good housing.
That the schools schools are spruced up so the children go
even
to
the
school.
Library,
even the library, go on the library or something. So that was my idea. That a lot people were quite surprised that they said, in fact, some people said that he is looking at the plant or he is looking at the roads. Believe me, one leaflet came out like that. But I was quite convinced that we need to provide that ecology and that environment. So I also encourage cultural activities, sports activities for the children. Because see, our society is very family oriented. We need to provide also an environment where the family feels comfortable.
Yes, sir.
That my child, he may be coming to the plant, the father or the mother, but the child will go to school, right? So they should feel safe, secure, and think that there is a good place where my child goes. That's why the DPS school, I gave them an old school building which was vacant. I said, let Rourkela Steel Plant give it to them, including a playfield behind it. So these were the ideas. And the Vanja Cultural Complex, we built that facade and the auditorium and all that.
Even the Civic Center was also given a...
Civic Center also gave it a facelift and all. So it was very important that people felt that we are not only working for a plant, we have a life.
Yes.
And we have a life which has some quality in it, some fun in it, some cultural activity in it. So that was why. I think it helped.
Yes.
I mean, looking back, I know that this also helped to motivate the people
really
to perform better in the
really
plant.
Helped.
Yeah.
Because people felt more safe, secure, and having a good quality of life.
Correct.
Yes.
I think it's very important. And all of us want a better quality of life. There's no question.
And even you thought about the periphery people also. You started this Sankhadhwani project.
Yeah, as you pointed out, there was already a CSR activity.
Yes.
But that CSR activity, see, there are two different things. One is that employee welfare activity, which is directed purely towards the employees. I felt that we had a responsibility to society which went beyond the employees. So I remember that the first time I gave a talk, I gave a speech in the 26th January 2002, I mentioned this, that we have a responsibility to the people outside our community, which is the steel plant community, because they are also dependent on us for their quality of life. We use the resources, we breathe the same air, we take the water, they also take the same water from Brahmani River or Mandira Dam, whatever it is. So I said that we have a responsibility. It may not be for hundreds of miles, outside, but within a certain limit. So I went to KFW, managing director in Delhi, and I said I want to use some money of the interest, part of the interest, which they had said you can use 0.5% of the 0.5 or something interest for environment. So I included the
CSR,
periphery as an environment also. But that's part of the environment. Environment is not trees and
it's not only physical.
Environments is total.
It has to be total environment.
Yeah. So they were quite happy that with my approach. So they funded it. So we could expand and constitute. We could establish the Institute for Peripheral Development and start some new activities. Very focused. We got
very structured.
Very structured. I took the help of BIFE, a Pune-based social organization, Basic Industries Foundation, Basic Agriculture and Industries Foundation, which had Mahatma Gandhi's blessings, right. So I'm quite sure that this all helped in building a total atmosphere, environment in all of Rourkela.
Sir, it was very magical seeing the complete transformation of the township, the plant, the people, the mindset of the people. So how satisfied you were with the transformation?
I think I had a very great level of satisfaction, because when I conceived this whole idea of the mass contact exercise, the performance excellence workshops, and reaching out to the people, so to be honestly, I knew that it was successful, but I didn't know what degree it will be successful. That came to me as a surprise. The way the people came around and started working together, in consonance with the same objective in mind, that the plant is important for them. And it surprised me, to be honest with you. And so therefore, my level of satisfaction was much higher than what I thought it would be, to be honest with you. And I was inspired by the people. See, what happens is, you get into a movement, and the nature of the movement, it propels you to move forward. And there is a stage that comes where you are inspired by the people themselves with whom you are working. It happened to me that after a couple of years in Rourkela, I had a strong sense that there was an inspiration that I was getting from these people, my employees. So that was very, very satisfying. That they became a source of inspiration to me. Yeah, right.
So, after leaving SAIL, after your superannuation, also you took up a lot of important responsibilities. So can you please brief about them?
Okay, I'll do that. But let me also add to what I was saying earlier. See, what happened is, later years, the literature, the management literature, refers to the refers to the mass contact exercise
Yes.
and the transformation of Rourkela Steel Plant
Yes.
as a unique experiment in corporate history. And another author writes that the mass contact exercise is a communication revolution.
Correct, sir.
Another author, I think Paul Argenti wrote that Paul Argenti wrote that it's a unique experiment in corporate history. But I think many authors have talked about what happened, the transformation in Rourkela as unique in its character. That the Rourkela Steel Plant started making huge profit in the financial year 2004-2005. It made a profit of 3 crores a day. When I came to
after
Rourkela,
a long time.
yeah, when I came to Rourkela, it was making a profit of loss of 3 crores a day.
Yes.
So in about 3 years' time, we had a financial swing of from -3 to +3 crores.
Yes, sir.
So, but I think the basically Rourkela has sustained that profitability spree. But as important, I think, is that it changed the mindset of the people. It brought a cultural change in the plant and outside the plant. So that has as much or perhaps more significance.
Yes.
So that is what I call transformation. The turnaround is a financial turnaround from 3 crore loss to 3 crore profit per day. But the transformation is far more, I think.
Is that taking of ownership and that
so
thing.
in true sense, what happened in Rourkela is a transformation.
Yes.
Rourkela plant and Rourkela Steel City.
People.
Yeah, people, the city. And sorry, and then coming back to your question, what did I do after I superannuated on December 31, 2005. But by that time, I had been approached by several corporations, global, national, and I had an offer of a vice chancellor position also in Biju Patnaik University of Technology. But then I was quite excited by what Mr. Lakshmi Mittal doing as a global steel leader. And so they made me an offer as India CEO of Mittal Steel Limited at that time. And so I took it up, and they wanted to set up projects in Odisha and Jharkhand. Later on, Mittal Steel merged with ArcelorMittal. Yes. So I became their vice president of ArcelorMittal Group, and also CEO of ArcelorMittal India projects. So I was made. So I was with them for almost 8 years. But then in 2008, there was a meltdown, economic meltdown. So somehow the project got delayed, and so then I separated at that point of time in 2013, late 2013. Then I was an advisor to SR Steel Limited for 1 year, and then I was sort of handpicked and persuaded to become the first Secretary General and Chief Executive of Indian Steel Association, which is the membership was of both private and public. So the SAIL chairman, the JSW chairman, and the steel secretary, they talked to me and say that we feel you are the person who was an exposure in public sector, SAIL, private sector, Mittal Steel, International Steel Company, again ArcelorMittal. And so they said, you are probably the right man to head it. So I worked as the chief executive for 3 years till the end of 2017. And then I became the president of the Indian National Academy of Engineering. So till December 2020, I was, you can say, my hands were full.
Okay.
So I had almost half a century or 50 years of very meaningful. But I continue to be active even after that.
And you contributed significantly to the metal industry, to the steel industry.
Thank you for that. Yeah, right, I did. So in 2018, the Government of India gave me Lifetime Achievement Award for my contributions to steel industry. Earlier, I had received the National Metallurgist Award from the Government of India in 2003 when I was in Rourkela, actually. So it has been very satisfying. My alma mater, Indian Institute of Science, they honored me with the Distinguished Alumnus Award in 2008, which was very rare, because normally they give it to academicians with highly research-oriented institutions. Then in 2010, my alma mater in the US, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, it gave me a Distinguished Alumnus Award. Last year they named me as a legendary alumnus.
Yes.
So I have received a lot of recognitions. I'm thankful for that. I mean, I have received several other awards, but I just mentioned a few.
So it's just overwhelming seeing the achievements, so many achievements.
I've been around for a long time, so you get these awards.
But not everyone has that kind of
right.
crown loaded with feathers.
Yeah. I'm thankful for that, right.
So, sir, now I would go to to know more of you as a person.
Okay.
So, if science and technology wouldn't have happened in your life,
okay.
How your life would have looked like?
Probably I would have been a teacher.
Teacher, okay.
Teacher, yeah, right. You know, I have had a fascination for my father was a very distinguished educationist.
Yes.
So I have a passion for in the educational field also, for the educational field. So probably I would have been a teacher somewhere, yeah, teacher or professor, whatever it is. May not be in science, maybe in something else. I mean, maybe in history, maybe in political science like you, or you know, or communication. Communication like you. Whatever it is, I think I would have been, yeah. I would have been in teaching profession, I think. Not necessarily in engineering.
That was your second passion.
Maybe, pardon? Yeah.
That was your second passion.
Yeah, sure.
So,
as a professional, yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Who was your role model?
My role model was my father actually, and my mother really. My father was, you know, way ahead of his time in terms of his thinking, in terms of his education. He had the first Odia from Odisha to get the British government overseas scholarship. And
I think it was a Fulbright scholarship.
No. Fulbright came much later. He was a British government scholarship holder at London University. First Odia from Odisha. There were other Odias who have gone before him, but they were from Patna. So he was my role model, and then he was a reformer, social reformer, irrespective of sex. I mean the gender or you know, caste, creed, religion. He was far ahead of his time. And my mother was also, you know, very mother of 15, but she was also very, you can say, emancipated in her mind in a way. So they were my role models.
How Veena ma'am influenced your life?
Quite a bit, actually, quite a bit. And in fact, you know, I met her in the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. She came from the family of a judge, and her father was a judge. And we met there, and we met there, and you know, we sort of liked each other, you can say, whatever. And the fact is that she had a very great influence on me in making me more people-oriented. She's a communication specialist, of course. She worked with SAIL, and so I think a profound influence. I would say that until I was say 22, 23, my influence came from my parents, from my family, and from my teachers naturally. But I think post that, she probably is the most influential person in my life. Yeah, sure.
What about your children, sir?
We have 2 children who live in the US. Fortunately for us, they were very bright. Yes. We didn't have to worry about them, about their education or something like that. They both work they're US educated, and they both work in the US, live in the US.
So which
two sons.
2 sons.
Yes. They've been to Rourkela when I was managing.
Yes,
yeah.
They were in one of the, I think, Independence Day or Republic Day functions.
My
they had attended.
Younger son was at the Republic Day celebration. Yes. Quite right. Yeah.
So,
he was at MIT. The younger son at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The elder son went to IIT Bombay, and then he went to the US. He got a PhD there, and he was teaching at the university, and now works for a IT company. Both work in IT companies.
Yeah. Sir, which book or movie influenced you a lot?
I think the movie that influenced me, which was quite late actually, was a movie on Gandhi made by Richard Attenborough. I think so. It was quite late in my life. Book-wise, you know, the one that influenced me, I think, is the book on Swami Vivekananda when I was in high school. And later in life, the book influenced me was Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.
Why Bhagavad Gita, sir?
Bhagavad Gita, I got interested because I got interested in, you know, how knowledge evolved, the evolution of knowledge in ancient India. Because you know that our civilization, our society, civilization, our culture is a continuum from the Vedic times to the present times. We are a living civilization.
So,
One of the longest living
Longest,
civilizations.
yes.
There have been other civilizations like in Mesopotamia and in Egypt, Greek civilization, of course, and the Chinese civilization. But ours is a living civilization, because what does it mean? It means that much of what existed, in terms of our own thoughts, they continue even today, right? So Bhagavad Gita, I got interested in quite late in life again, around maybe 1988, 89, when I was quite looking at the evolution of this knowledge, which is in the form of, say, the Vedas,
Scriptures,
the
yes.
Upanishads, the Puranas, and other scriptures. I'm influenced by the Vedanta philosophy of Shankaracharya.
okay.
So, it automatically means that I get interested in the subject. So, the Bhagavad Gita, as I said, when I was in high school, it was Swami Vivekananda.
Yes.
Book on Swami Vivekananda. His writings, I've read a lot of his writings. Influence, they did influence me. And then much later, the Bhagavad Gita, when I was searching for the origins, the genesis of our, thoughts, the so-called, our 6 schools of philosophy, heterodox philosophy, or you can call Hindu philosophy, whatever. So I got interested in the Bhagavad Gita. Then I got hold of a copy, 2 copies. One I kept in the office, one in the house. Okay. So anytime helpful.
You can just
And I had
go
a
through.
little bit of there are translations, but the original Sanskrit is there in the translation.
So, you are known as a connoisseur of music.
Yes.
What is your favorite song? 1 or 2 songs?
My favorite song is Jana Gana Mana Adhinayaka Jai. I mean, I know it sounds like but it is my favorite song because I sing it. I can sing it in an audience, I can sing it in a gathering or whatever. So it's something that I can sing, I love to sing it.
What memory do you like to go back to?
Well, actually, when I'm idle, so to say, or I'm sitting quietly in an airport lounge waiting for the flight takeoff, I really go back to my childhood. I love that feeling that I had at that time, that I had so many people around me. My mother, my father was not so much around me, but my mother, my brothers, my sisters, and I love to go back to that feeling, let me say, if not that scene, that feeling of being with them.
Being with them,
yeah,
yes.
I go back to that frequently. In fact, go back to that.
So, what do you like? What do you love most about yourself?
Myself.
Yes, sir.
Not much really. No, I think I like to be with people, and that is one aspect of my personality I am in comfort with.
And that is why possibly you have developed such great communication.
You're probably right.
skills.
You're probably right.
Yes.
So I feel that I am comfortable with people, all kinds of people, children, youngsters, so I think that's one of my positives, I think, to like to be with people.
So, and what you don't like about yourself?
I think not that what I don't like about myself, but what I would like to have more. I would have liked to have more children. Really speaking, I have 2 sons. I wish I had a daughter.
Okay.
I wish I had a daughter or 2. Yeah. Even my wife says that. She says that, she would have loved to have another child, a daughter, not another son, but a daughter. Yeah, right.
Great, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, according to you, what is the definition of happiness?
See, the definition of happiness varies, from time to time, from the context to context. If you ask me today, if I feel my children are happy, then I feel happy. If I think my children are happy at this moment, then I think I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yes.
So it changes from time to time, When I was in Rourkela, I was very happy because the way the people,
Yes, sir. Things were coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
certainly. So state of happiness, you know, is not a
Fixed
static.
thing,
Yeah, it's
yes.
very dynamic. So sure.
What is the biggest lesson that life has taught you?
That people are important. I think that is my biggest lesson in life. That people are more important than anything else. That's my lesson in life. Yeah, right.
And if you get a chance to be somebody else for a day,
For a day, my
yes.
wife. Really,
Why,
really,
sir?
really. Because I admire her
Okay.
for what she is, and I really admire her.
Great,
Veena,
sir.
my wife Veena,
Yes,
yeah.
great. Sir.
I really admire her for what she is. For what she is. So, if I have a chance to be her, it'll be great. Yeah.
That's a very beautiful thought, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And at the end, sir, your message to the people of Rourkela.
Message is that never be satisfied with what it is today, your circumstance. So, you know, set for yourself a purposeful, meaningful goal or objective, and work hard and with passion to accomplish that. That would be, you know, my. And I must say also, I'm very thankful to, I think, to the people of Rourkela. I salute them for, you know, for the happiness they have given me, for what I've got from them. I'm thankful to them for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And I would like to tell you, sir, you have inspired generations of Rourkelites, even the people, the young people, even the young engineers or the people, employees joining Rourkela State Plant. They still talk about you, they want to know more about you. And that was the objective of conducting this interview,
Okay.
so that those people who are so inquisitive, that how was Dr. Mishra, what he used to think. So that is why we conducted this interview, and I'm so grateful, sir, you have given so much of time for such an inspiring and enlightening interview. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much
coming
for
to RSTV.
giving me this opportunity also to express myself, you know, over a, you know, half an hour or whatever it is.
Sir.
Thank you, and again I must thank the people of Rourkela because I got a lot of pleasure, happiness, satisfaction, whatever you call it, in my life from the 5 years I spent here, roughly 5 years spent
Yes.
here. Yeah. So they are always in my heart. The thought of Rourkela, the thought of the steel plant, the thought of the people of Rourkela, they're always in my mind, in my heart. Yeah, I must say that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.